Hey guys, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark, and of course we're going to be watching World's Youngest Serial Killer, 8-year-old Amarjit Sada. I don't know how to pronounce this child's name. Obviously by Rotten Mango, which obviously last time what did we do? We did the was it the gas chamber nightclub? I'm going to assume it was that one. It was a nightclub. Though tomorrow we're probably gonna finally do the K-pop one. Because again, these videos are going up a day in delay. So I'm recording this on the 24th. It's going up on the 25th. So any suggestions will be slow because of that. But I was already planning to do this before, so we're gonna be doing. I guess we'll do the K-pop one tomorrow. But I'm pretty sure that's a two-parter. So uh, the first video is like really long, but then there's a second video to watch after that, so the next two videos might just be the K-pop one and then the further extension episode 2 of that K-pop scenario where they have like a club and they're trafficking and selling drugs and doing crazy stuff, I'm assuming. But yeah, I don't think I have too much to say at the beginning of this one. Of course, I have not forgotten this pen. Pen is here today. I don't have to click off and go do that real quick. So I wonder how crazy this is going to be. Like 8-year-old serial killer. Where's that even going to go? It says 3 victims, I think somewhere. Maybe it's on the thumbnail. So only
Bada bing, bada boo.
3
I have a
people, but
star on my
still.
face because I have a massive pimple. So if you're watching the visuals, I'm sorry. If you're not,
So in the, was it last episode? I mentioned that she had like a yellow star like over here in the last episode. I didn't know what it was. I would assume it's just a sticker or something like that. And it seems now next episode we have our answer because this one appears to be a sticker and it is hiding some blemishes. So I'm guessing that's what they are being used for. Not that like I'm pretty sure nobody cares, right? You didn't have to do that, but that's fine.
Parul was catching her breath as she's stepping in through her house front door. She was busy all day running all of these errands, running around town, buying groceries, going to the local shops. And on top of all of that, she's heavily pregnant. So it's going to take like 2 times as long to do everything. And now she's rushing in through the door. She's trying to check up on her 8-year-old son, Amar. And also, she's babysitting her 6-month-old nephew. So she's checking up on both of them. And like, okay, yeah, in hindsight, probably not the best idea to leave an 8-year-old in charge of the house in.
Okay, so we're already possibly causing some bad stuff because we have an 8-year-old taking care of a child, even a younger child, right? So I don't know if this younger child's gonna be alive when we get back.
Charge of watching this 6-month-old baby.
Okay,
But in this area, daycare is just not really a thing.
like not even a year yet.
6-month-old baby. But in this area, daycare is just not really a thing. Like, people don't really have babysitters. They don't really have places to send their kids so that they can run errands freely. This was the norm, and she had done it before. And Amar, who's 8, I mean, he's pretty good. He's been left home alone. He's been babysitting his cousin. Everything has been fine. So she walks in through the door, and she sees her son Amar just playing on the ground with all of his little toy cars. She's like, "Hey, sweetie, I'm home." And she's putting down the groceries, and she's wondering, okay, well, where's the nephew? Where's the 6-month-old? Amar just is sitting there quietly and doesn't even respond to her. "Sweetie, did you hear me? Where is the baby? Is he in the crib?" He's not responding. So she stops what she's doing, looks at.
Okay. Before we even get into this, so he's being considered a serial killer, which obviously was going to go into the tangent of not having a soul, because we talked about like not having a soul back with the Reddit case where the family had a son who was just terrorizing them basically his entire life. And like that could have been I don't know if we're really going to go down that rabbit hole again of the whole like religious slash metaphysical thing of not having a soul. But and how that creates serial killers, etc. Like we're not gonna go supernatural here. I just like that's just a little thing. If you want to hear about that, go watch that Reddit video. I don't know if it was the first one. It's probably the first one. It's just the one probably said like, was the son born evil or a monster or something like that, or the devil? I don't know. It's one of those videos. from the void. But I feel like the fact that he's not paying attention to her and he's ignoring her is a sign of guilt. Question mark. I mean, he could just be wanting her to find the baby himself and then relish in it, but I feel like turning away or not engaging is like understanding that you did something wrong. Question mark.
He's not responding. So she stops what she's doing, looks at her son, and she sees that he's kind of smiling. And it's
Okay.
just odd. It's a little.
Okay, so no, he's relishing in it. Okay, so never mind. Again, I was saying like if you turn away, maybe if you don't want to engage, it's because you understand that you're guilty of something, and thus like you're being bad, but you at least know that you've done something bad and you feel bad about it. But okay, but he is in fact possibly just relishing in the moment, which okay, maybe he is just being
Little
evil is
unsettling.
evil.
Like he's not laughing, he's not giggling. It feels like, you know, when a kid is playing a joke on you and they hid your keys when you're super busy? It's like that smile. So she's like, okay, come on, get out of here. Like, where's the baby? And he just says so calmly, Mom, I killed him.
What?
At first, she thinks all of this is a joke. I mean, maybe this is how kids joke around. Maybe he inherited some weird, sick, deranged sense of humor from someone up in her family line. She doesn't know where, but this has got to be a joke, right? So she gets up and she's like, what are you talking about? Where did you hide the baby? The game is over. Hurry up and tell me. He just grabs her hand and starts leading her to the backyard. And I think this is when she genuinely starts feeling a little bit more relaxed. I mean, I
Backyard, did he bury this child?
think she could still probably hear the heartbeat in her throat. She's probably still a little bit panicked because the baby is still missing right now. But she's thinking, okay, I'm going to go outside. The baby's going to be laying flat on its back in the grass in the backyard, sucking its thumb, looking up at the sky. It's going to be okay. And then I'm going to have to teach my kid a lesson. But as they're heading out, there's nothing. The deeper they get into their backyard, she's starting to get that anxious feeling again. And she starts scolding her son, like, this isn't a good prank. Just tell me where you hid him. You need to tell me. This could be dangerous. He starts silently leading her towards the back, further and further. And finally, he lifts his hand, his tiny little hand, and points at the ground. There's a bunch of dirt that looks like it's been freshly dug in a patch of grass. She doesn't even have time to think. She throws herself on all fours. She starts digging until her fingers brush soft skin, and she lifts her baby nephew out of the dirt. And it looked like he had been in some sort of horrible, horrible car accident. I mean, she could hear ringing in her ears. She's panicking. And she looks at her son, and he just calmly says, I smashed his head with a brick. And she leaned over to the side and threw up.
And the 8-year-old dug a grave?
Dug a grave.
Wow.
Yeah, we gotta mute this. Okay, so yeah, again, I don't know if what's gonna be going on with this child. Like, why did he do that? Was it just the child getting on the other baby getting on his nerves, or what? Again, like the whole no soul thing, but we're not gonna go there, like I said. Unless if we need to go there. So I keep pointing this out with her other stuff. She's probably not going to say anything crazy during this one, but it's still weird. Again, this has nothing to do with this video. It's still weird that when in these videos, sometimes she'll just throw like a sentence or like a few sentences of supernatural stuff into like this long hour plus story just out of nowhere and just never go back to that, never talk about why people were thinking that, why people were saying that, if there's any resolution to that. It's just out of nowhere. She'll just for a split second, say something supernatural and then not, and just act like she didn't. Like, just never comes up again. And she's done that several times. It's like, huh? Which I don't think this story is going to have anything like that. It's just because I'm talking about supernatural stuff, as in like not having a soul, or even you can maybe even consider that having a soul if you're atheist or something. That being supernatural. But yeah, I just am still finding it weird that she just throws that in, that the little 2 cents, little anecdote of supernatural stuff, and then like it's just gone. But yeah, like really just how many more? Well, we already know it's going to be three, but like, how old are these others going to be, and what is going through this kid's head? I feel like I can't get a read on him off of just that yet.
Well, as always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. But this case takes place in India. I had our wonderful Indian researchers assist with gathering all of the data for this case and honestly just helping understanding the cultural aspect to it all. Indian culture, in some respects, is very similar to Korean or even American culture, but there are some stark differences. So if there's any chance that there's any nuance of cultural significance that I wasn't able to fully grasp, please let me know. Or if there's anything else you want me to know about this case, let me know in the comments. And I'm sure you guys already know this, but a quick disclaimer. Okay, the actions of one individual does not reflect on the culture nor the Indian population as a whole. So with that being said, let's get into it. The police are sitting across from a serial killer in the interrogation room. Now,
Serial killer?
A serial killer, yes. Now, usually there's a whole list of mind games that they play in order to get the serial killer to confess to their crimes.
How many do you have to kill before you become a serial killer? Because in the story so far, it's only one, but she does like to jump around the timeline all the time. So I'm guessing we're at the end of the timeline now that we're in the police office. But let me actually see how many you have to have before becoming a serial killer. Serial killer. Okay, so that's about what I thought. You need to kill 3 to become a serial killer, but it's specifically you kill someone, there's a cooling off period, so there's a period of time where you're not doing anything, then you kill another period of time where you're not doing anything, and then you kill another. They have to be separate, 3 separate kills from each other, not all together. Like a mass murderer is different than a serial killer, obviously, or for instance. So yeah, 3 is the number. I guess 2 is not enough, but 3 is the enough to be labeled a serial killer.
It's a little bit different versus a regular killer. Not that, like, okay, regular killer sounds weird, but you get what I'm saying. A serial killer, they have a tendency to kill a lot of people, and they have a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's a little bit different from
Yeah.
having just not a regular killer, but you get the idea. They handle serial killers in a different way. And serial killers, they like to play their games. It is not uncommon for serial killers to ask for things from the police. They say, ooh, before I start talking, before I tell you where the bodies are, before I confess to the crime so these families can get closure, maybe I can get a cigarette around here. What's a guy got to do to get a cup of coffee? Or maybe sometimes it's a full-on fast food order. A lot of them like to ask for these things because it makes them feel powerful. I mean, think about it. It's almost, when you're in the interrogation room, most people would think, I don't have the power here. The police.
Yeah, but if you don't tell them what they need to know, then what are they going to do, right? Keep wasting money, taxpayer money, right? Trying to figure out this stuff when they can just get it straight out of you. So they're going to just potentially kiss your butt to try and get what they want out of you. So that's where the power dynamic comes from. You have all the power because you can tell them. You have all the information that they need, and it's possibly they're never going to get that information unless you tell them.
Police have the power. But when a serial killer says, I've got information you desperately want, and I'm going to make you sit here and watch me eat McDonald's until I decide I'm ready to tell you, it makes them feel like they hold all of the power. They want to savor this moment. So the
Wait, I mean, a lot of them are psychopaths, right? Again, like we've gone over psychopaths, where the real life is like a video game, even though psychopaths have been alive before video games existed, right? But it's like life is a video game to them, where everyone else is an NPC and they're the only real being in existence, and thus everyone else is just things to play with in this sandbox, essentially.
feel like they hold all of the power. They want to savor this moment. So the investigators in this case, they're sitting across from a serial killer and they're asking, tell us why you did it. Why did you kill them? And he just says, I want some biscuits. Like the cookies, you know, the biscuit cookies that you dip in the tea. I want that, and I want a cup of tea. The investigators are annoyed, but I mean, what choice do they have, right? They walk out of the room, they get the cookies and the tea, And for a few minutes, they're sitting there in the interrogation room with the serial killer, watching him just munching on his packets of cookies and leisurely sipping his tea, as if they're just having afternoon tea with one another, as if they're old buddies from like the college days. Once the killer had his fill, he leans back and he starts talking. She was sleeping. I took her away and I killed her with a brick. I was like smashing the brick on her face, and then I buried her. I actually didn't feel that much excitement when I tried strangling her because she wasn't fighting back. So that's why I chose the brick. I hit her a lot of times with the brick.
How do you fight back against a brick? I mean, how? I'm pretty sure like the initial impact. Well, I mean, he's a child. He might not be able to use apply enough force, but the brick itself has a lot of weight, so the brick can do a lot of heavy lifting itself. But still.
Because he wanted a reaction?
Yeah.
To have her fight back?
And when they ask, like, why? Like, still that doesn't answer why. That answers.
Like, how can a 6-year-old even fight back to begin with? They probably can't even process information well enough to be like, I need to fight back. They're just going to be screaming and maybe flailing their arms around. Like, what do you mean fight back?
Fight back?
I mean, he is a child, so... Well, he's acting like he's a adult, like, almost like he's, Chucky, right? He's like a grown psychopathic man inside of a child's body.
And when they ask, like, why? Like, still that doesn't answer why. That answers maybe how, but why? He just says, because I felt like it. I just wanted to. If one of the investigators had dropped their notepad or pen, because this is a shocking confession, when they leaned down to pick it up, they would have seen that the serial killer's feet did not even touch the ground. His legs were dangling off the interrogation room chair because he's 8 years old. This is the story of Amardeep Sada, the world's youngest serial killer ever. So, I mean, this is crazy. And I know with a lot of serial killers, we like to go into the childhood and figure out, like, what happened? Did they fall
Yeah, but he is a child, so there is no childhood to go back to.
off a swing, which is like a big conversation we've had on this pod, right? But Amardeep's childhood seems so normal, if not mundane, in some
I mean, he's still living the childhood. There is nothing to go back to. Like, or barely anything to go back to.
aspects. So
I
at
feel
the
like he's just entering childhood.
yeah, exactly. Like the very barely there 8 years that he's been around town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even call it a childhood, I guess, right? He just started living.
Yeah, you can't really count the first 5, since I think a lot of people don't really have much of memories at that time. Maybe if when you're 8, you can somehow still remember that point, but I feel like not really, question mark. So I feel like, well, in my case, I have some people I say they can remember their entire infancy, but I think at 5 or maybe in 4, that's when the memory started solidifying. So even if I was like 6 or 7 or something, I couldn't tell you anything before 4 or 5, and I feel like that's a way for a lot of people. But of course, there's also probably a lot of people who can remember, like, coming into existence. But I like to just go off of like, you don't gain, like, not necessarily sentience, but like we'll use the word sentience because I've used it before, until like around 5, give or take. So if we're going off of that, he's only had 3 years of sentience to gain anything. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not even like the full 8 from my perspective. He's had 3 years to develop.
So at the very beginning of his life, he was kind of like every other boy his age. His parents said that he was very rambunctious and he went through the terrible toddler phase, the terrible twos phase. But I don't think it was something so alarming. I don't think anyone sat there and was like, this one is different. This one is extra wild. I mean, he would do the normal things, like he would lay like a starfish if you don't give him what you want.
Yeah, just throwing a tantrum.
Or sometimes you're like trying to take him out of the playground. He would pretend to be dead and go limp. And he was like that. When he didn't get the things that he wanted, he would just pout. He didn't care that his family wasn't financially well off. He just wanted the toys. He wanted what he wanted for dinner. I mean, he was just a kid, right? But how could his parents not adore him? He was their only son, their only child. And every morning, Amar's mother would get out her kohl. It's like this black powder that can also be used as eyeliner. And she would dip her thumb in it and smear a dot on the side of Amar's forehead. And she says, so this is a tradition where a black dot is placed on the child's forehead or cheek. It's supposed to ward off evil. It's supposed to ward off the evil eye. Yeah. And it's protecting the child from all the negative influences. And it's a very heartfelt, motherly thing to do. It's one of those like heartwarming symbols of a mom's love. His mom would do that for him every single day. And she would say, may no one cast an evil eye on you. I don't think that she had any idea that he was the one that was going out there to be evil.
Yeah, I don't have any information on like spiritual stuff in this kind of way. Like I've never heard of that before. Yet I've heard about a lot of like witchcraft and metaphysical stuff. So I have a lot of knowledge question mark in that department, but I haven't heard this cultural spiritualism with the kohl and the dot on the forehead / cheek. So I don't know if we're going to go. I mean, I didn't think this would have any spiritual / supernatural stuff in it, but if we're going to go there for a second, since we're talking about it in the story, I don't know if that would. If we're saying that stuff exists, I don't know if that would do anything. Just because I don't know anything about that culture or whatnot. Or if that would work, if that would actually do anything, if there were things that go bump in the night to cause evil like that.
I mean, how could she? Her son is 8. Imagine calling a child evil. You would get canceled. You would get canceled all over social media. But imagine if that child is 8 years old, not even like 15, 16, 8. No one would ever even consider the fact that an 8-year-old could knowingly do something malicious. And to the adults, he was like this little angel. He was always known to be very smiley. That's what the neighbors said about him. Even the police, when they interrogated him, they said he smiles a lot. Like just nonstop smiling. You ask him questions, he's going to be smiling. He's telling you the story of how he killed people, he's smiling. When he's asking for cookies, he's smiling. So Amar's friends, on the other hand, I mean, he smiled at them too, but they were just, they were the only ones, it seems, that kind of noticed something off about him. He just played different. You know, when kids are playing, they're learning social skills and they're learning what it means to joke around without actually being too mean. They're learning how to be aggressive and initiate play wrestling without actually initiating a full-on war, a full-on fight. And then I'm sure you've met one of those people, even as an adult, where you're like, ooh, I feel like they don't really grasp the concept of how to talk to people. Like everyone is in a group and they're joking around lightly and they're like almost uplifting each other in their jokes. Like they're not actually punching down. But then this person will come in and just absolutely rip people to shreds, light someone on fire with their insults, but they're laughing as if they're doing exactly what you're doing. And you're like, that is not what we're doing here. It was kind of like that, but in the more childish sense. So Amar's friend said that he was always extra aggressive. Like there was just something about it and it was very noticeable, but they couldn't tell him about it. They couldn't confront him about it. They didn't even know how. They're just kids. For example, all of their friends would be play fighting or wrestling, pushing each other around. And then Amar would come in and he would just start throwing down real punches as if he wants to hurt whoever the friend is that he's punching. But he's laughing as he's doing this.
So he feels like he's playing, but he's actually hurting people.
Yes. So the other kids, you know, they're still learning how to be around in these social settings. They don't know how to tell him, wait, that's not what we're doing. Because he could easily say, that is what you're doing. You're also punching and laughing, and I'm punching and laughing.
He could just have like issue with his brain, which is kind of seem like we're going there. Like there is part of it that's not developed right, and thus he cannot understand these nuances. I mean, especially since he's just always happy all the time. I don't know.
But the way he's punching and laughing is like he genuinely is trying to hurt someone. I mean, thankfully he's 8 and he's a pretty scrawny kid, so none of his friends got seriously injured, but they would just kind of sit there and be like, that is so weird. It feels a little bit unpredictable and a little bit unhinged, a little bit scary for his friends. And they also said whenever we played games, you know, we were at the age where we don't really throw tantrums in front of each other. We're like 7 or 8. Maybe we do that at home, but we're trying to be cool kids in front of each other. if he didn't win a game, he would whirl his arms around like a propeller, just smacking around anybody in his way. He would kick dirt around, and then he would march off home as if you personally attacked him. And everyone's like, okay, well, maybe he'll grow up. Maybe it'll get better once he starts growing up, right?
I mean, I don't know if the kids are saying that, but I understand. 'Cause I don't think the kids have the capacity to think like that. Like, oh yeah, he'll grow out of that. I don't think kids are thinking about that kind of stuff or that far ahead in the future. I mean, especially since I think how old do you need to be to gain? I don't know what to call it. And it's not future sight, but I know because of like this child development book I had back in high school. I don't know if it said it in that book or just like in child development class because we had like, classes for that stuff, obviously. That there's a certain age, like where you gain the ability to actually think ahead, like to actually premeditate. And before that age, it's not really something you can do. Like your brain's not really developed yet to really have any premeditated thoughts, I guess is how you would refer to that as. So like how old are these, like what is that age? I don't remember what that age is where you're not able to like really get any premeditated future sight. I could probably just look it up, right? Yeah, okay, so I looked up. It said this. I think it's just a theory, of course. You have to take this with a grain of salt, but I think it said around 11, where premeditated thought, foresight, etc., being able to think about the consequences of your actions, things like that or just like plan things out in advance, etc., is around 11. We'll give a take on that, but 11 is where that comes in. So again, yeah, 6, 7, 8 year olds having premeditated thought, I don't think is all there. I think that was just thrown in for flavor, but yeah, I don't know why I had to go on this premeditated thought on children, but again, it's just, I happen to have that knowledge, so I thought I would bring it up in a story that has to do with, that kind of has to do with that. Where were you even going before we got to the premeditated thought, though? Let me think about that. We might just like head back in, but I don't know. Where were we before that? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it just seems like maybe he doesn't have the capacity to understand these things. Obviously, when you think of someone not having the proper social skills or the ability to understand things like this, you'd assume autism, but not in this degree, right? I don't think autism is going to make you be like, oh, killing something is fine. Like you need to have maybe like if we're going to say that you need to be like a psychopath first. So he might just be a psychopath, which means I think psychopaths' brains are wired differently, right? Like you might even be able just to tell. So he's a psychopath with maybe some sort of problem that doesn't allow him to see these things. But I mean, if you're a psychopath already, you already don't see people as real people or living things as valuable other than for your own entertainment, right? So that kind of just fills that role all by itself.
But then he starts becoming a little bit antisocial in an angry way. So there would be instances where his neighborhood friends, they would be running in their group down to the little lake and they would see him sitting on his front doorstep. So they're passing and they would call out, "Hey, you want to come and play with us?" And he would look at the ground and he would say, "I don't really want to." Just in like a really soft voice. And then they'd say, "Hey, why are you not playing with us anymore? Are we not your friends anymore?" "Yeah, it's been so long. Like, let's go for the swim in the pond. It'll be so fun." Out of nowhere, Amar would jump to his feet and start screaming from the bottom of his lungs, "No!" Like screaming at them. They could see the veins on his neck. His face was turning red. I mean, they were honestly so spooked out about this. It's so weird. They would book it. They would book it out of there because it's creepy. So instead of playing with his friends, Amar would just isolate himself. He would spend more and more time by himself as he turned like 7 or 8 years old. He would climb trees and just stay up there for hours, staring at anyone that was walking by below him. Or he would stay home and play with his toys by himself.
Kind of dangerous to let him into trees because who knows what he's going to throw up from there, like throw down. He could actually carry something heavy up there. He could actually end up killing someone.
Now, from all accounts that I could find, Amar was the bully. Like, literally all the sources are like, Amar was the bully. But Amar's mom didn't really think so.
I mean, as a mom, you can't really blame her for that.
Okay, I think this goes to show you how much she doted on him. And this could play a huge factor in this case. But
Why? Because she pampered him into psychopathy? Like, is that where we're going with
she
that?
genuinely babied him. Like, have you ever met those parents where their kids are an absolute menace to society, but they think that their kids are the ultimate victims to society?
Yeah, I mean, they've given them everything and just pampered them into the point of not knowing how things actually work and believe they could do anything, get away with anything. I don't know. I mean, that could be a factor, but it's like a factor on top of the fact that he's a psychopath.
So Amar would come in, and there was this
Or a sociopath, which ended up being a psychopath, because once you kill someone, you're a psychopath.
one time he had come in with grass stains all over his clothes. He had dirt all over his knees. He had a cut on his knee. And honestly, it just feels like he was playing rough with his friends, or maybe he fell climbing up a tree. But his mom thought otherwise. She was cooking. She freaked out. She wiped her hands on her apron, and she's running up to him, like trying to get the dirt off of him. Like, what happened? What happened? He wouldn't say. So she thinks, oh my God, he's being bullied. The next day, she goes to get a holy amulet, which is, she goes to a Hindu priest and asks for a holy amulet, which is considered an object with great spiritual powers. You wear it to protect you, and it offers blessings and guidance. It's like a tangible connection to the divine. And she gives it to him. And she's like, you got to wear this so you don't get bullied. And he's like, no, this is disgusting and embarrassing. I don't want to wear this from you, Mom. And he's saying, absolutely not.
Kind of weird response from a child. I mean, if it was like a weird piece of clothing, sure, but as a disgusting is a strong word for like something that's like a talisman. Like, would you even be wearing it in a place that's shown? I don't know anything about this, so I have no info on its if it's something that actually has to be seen and is large, and a child would think it's lame and disgusting.
The only way that she could convince him to wear it was to tell him that the amulet came from the Hindu deity of love, compassion, devotion, strength, and intelligence himself. So some people speculate this kind of goes to show maybe he had some sort of budding narcissistic personality disorder where he felt like it was now worthy to be worn every single day if it was
Yeah, because it was like hand given to him by a god.
given from someone very powerful versus his mom. But he's 8, so I don't think we can really speculate, right? Now, Amar gave his mom a sly smile, and he snatches the amulet, and he wears it every single day now. And I just don't even think that Amar really considered how much his parents loved him. Like, his parents were under constant stress. Okay, his
Okay. He wears a necklace, right? In one of the thumbnails, I'm pretty sure I saw him wearing a necklace. Is that the amulet?
dad, I believe his dad was the only one that was working, and he was a day laborer, meaning he would go to all these nearby farms and he would ask, do you guys need any workers today? If they said yes, he would work that day and get paid for that one day. If they said no, he would have to move on to the next farm. And if all of them said no, he would have no work that day. It's just so unstable. And even when he did work, he was making basically pennies. The average wage for a day laborer in that area was around $2.50 or $3 per day.
Yeah, I assume it wouldn't be much of anything in the conditions that they're in.
And that's calculated with inflation.
Wow.
So they genuinely don't know where their next meal is coming from.
She had to put inflation in there, which means this is not something that happened recently. If she's going to try to apply inflation to that amount, otherwise you wouldn't even have to say that. It's just like how much the money's being made now. So this must be a slightly old story.
But they're still trying to give their son all the toys, all the food that he wanted. I mean, they couldn't say yes to him every single time, which, side note, he would throw an absolute tantrum every time that they said no. But at least they tried to give him anything that his friends would have. They were really happy with having a son. His parents were a bit traditional. This is also going to come into play in a second because it's all going to go to shit in 2 seconds and you're going to be like, why did this happen?
I mean, traditional, sure. I mean, she's really into the religious side, so I would assume so, probably.
So his parents were very traditional. They felt like a son was the best thing to happen to them.
Okay, like super traditional.
They felt like a son is an heir. There's someone that's going to live in your house traditionally, and their wife is going to come live in your house with the son. They're going to have their own kids, and you're going to live with all of them, and they're going to take care of you as you get older. Meanwhile, having a daughter is kind of like a gift. You get to spend a good amount of time with her, and then you give her away to the husband's family. Side note, this is super traditional. Not everyone in India is like this, but Amar's family was super traditional. They really babied him, like really babied him. So Amar's aunt, Meena, comes over one day.
Huh? Why? Why? Huh? Alleged? We don't know what the aunt looks like. So we're just throwing up an alleged photo of the aunts. Also, what is like this anime? Is it actually like a photo of a child? Maybe it is like their actual child. It looks like an anime just because of the low quality it is. It just looks like a picture of some anime character, but I think it actually is maybe a real photo. You just can't see, but yeah, alleged photo.
So Amar's aunt, Meena, comes over one day. And she's like, I have a huge favor. I'm so sorry. This is Amar's mom's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind taking care of my 6-month-old son for just 1 month? I'm so desperate, you have no idea.
Okay, 6-month-old son. This isn't. It was a niece last time, so this is a different scenario.
So for the past 6 months, since the day that she had her baby boy, Meena has been dealing with physical, emotional recovery of giving birth, but also the burden of just not being able to put food on the table. They have been up to their neck every single day for the past 6 months, and Meena finally, she found a job in the city where she could clean houses for a month. And it wasn't a job where she could take her son. She'd be cleaning people's homes day in, day out. She would start her mornings at 7 a.m., do chores as fast as she could, on to the next house, on to the next, and then probably be back at midnight, get back up at 7 a.m., 7 days a week, no off days. And at the end, they get to take home about $35 to $100 a month. Not per day, per month.
Wow.
Yeah. Meena needed this $100. It would be a life of a difference for their struggling family. I mean, no mom wants to part with their newborn child like that, but it's so that he could have his belly full. And it made sense to leave her baby boy with Parul, Amar's mom, because Parul was heavily pregnant with her second child. So she was going to be breastfeeding soon, and the nephew would also be breastfed, so she'd be kind of like a wet nurse, like a caretaker.
Also, did we just say that Amar's mom is pregnant right now, so she's gonna have a second child?
Parul was like, I don't know, Meena. I mean, we're already we're already drowning in bills. We can barely put food on the table. I don't know if we can take in another mouth to feed. Obviously, I want to help, but we're about to have another one on the way. Meena said, I can send you some of my money. So Parul could not say no. She agreed, and the day Meena was set to leave, she brought her son over. I don't know if I could verify his name, so we're just going to call him the baby boy. And Meena just cradled him, said a prayer for him, dabbed a bit of coal from her eyes to his forehead to protect him. And then she left. Meena was sad, but she's like, this is the right thing to do. Not only that, but this is like the second best place for my baby. If I can't take care of my baby, my sister is the second best place. Nobody's going to care for my baby like our family. So for the first week, Parul is just adjusting to have a newborn around. And she kind of thought it was good practice since she's going to be having a baby soon. It would have been 7 years since Amar had been an infant. So she's getting all these refreshers. She's using Amar's old clothes, old toys, old crib for the baby as well.
That's not good. Could have like that baby jealousy stuff, I think, at this point. Where like he could be getting upset and jealous that there's someone else getting attention that isn't all being given to him. I think children just naturally feel this, so that's already something that's going to happen, even if he wasn't a psychopath. So now you're adding that jealousy onto an infant, onto a psychopath. Sorry, when the children already feel that, they already feel like that if a new baby comes into the view, that it's just taking their parents away or taking all the love and affection that they deserve away from them, and then they get jealous and maybe even hateful towards the But you would assume you eventually grow out of that. But again, in this situation, we're talking about a potential psychopath slash sociopath. So uh, this is obviously only going to go terribly wrong in this case.
She's using Amar's old clothes, old toys, old crib for the baby, as well as some of the things that Mina had left for her. And one morning, she's like, oh my God, I gotta go to the market to buy some vegetables for dinner tonight. We're out of vegetables. So she swaddles the baby boy, places him into the crib, and she tells her son, keep an eye on the baby. I'm not gonna be gone long. I'm just literally going down the street to get some veggies, okay? Amar nods and watches her rush out the door.
But now you just given potentially the ire of his hate to him on the silver platter.
Once he heard that door click shut, and this is from his confession, he jumped to his feet and walked to the crib. He stared down at the baby peacefully sleeping in front of him, and he starts kind of pinching his baby cousin's cheeks. Like lightly, you know, when you, with affection, kind of pinch a baby's cheeks.
Insert sinister music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then Amar pulled his arm back, gave it a second thought, paused, and then lifted his hand all the way back and slapped the baby on the face as hard as he could. And so, of course, his baby cousin starts waking up crying, scream crying from the shock and the pain, and Amar is smiling.
I would just assume he's just testing to see, like, what would happen if he did this.
To him, I guess there was something about the baby's cries that felt good, like some sort of achievement. It was his goal. And he keeps reaching up and down to slap, pinch, hit, all of these things, even scratching his cousin.
So I feel like if we're scratching, like, this isn't, assuming the child's still alive after all this, you would be able to see that, and the mom would know that something was going on, and she should have been worried at this point.
He did this until his cousin's voice was scratchy and raw from all the crying. Eventually, the fun wears off, and Amar reaches both his hands down into the crib. He might have even needed to tiptoe a bit to get all the way down to where the baby was laying, because he's 7, okay? And he used his 2 small hands to wrap them around his cousin's even smaller neck, and he squeezed.
Yeah, I figured this was where this was going.
He never broke eye contact. He watched as his cousin started wheezing, and then he watched as his cousin's eyes turned bright red. I mean, he didn't even stand a chance. Newborns can't fight back, but not only that, they're so utterly delicate, it can just take 15 seconds for a baby to lose consciousness from strangulation.
I said this in a prior video. I don't know what video it was, but in one of the videos, I'm pretty sure like human babies are like the most vulnerable thing in existence, like, and they stay that way for a long time. Like human children slash infants slash babies are just like the most weakest thing in the, if we want to say animal kingdom, we'll go with the animal kingdom, but the weakest thing in the animal kingdom. It's like, it probably isn't that severe, but like as far as I know, they're the weakest thing, and are just susceptible to so much. It's not even funny. We don't know how we've survived so long with children that take so long to develop into anything, like this, weak and unable to do anything for so long, so many years, and then it takes even more years from them to become self-sufficient, or just have like the peak physical condition, right? It's like, how did we develop like this? How did we evolve to be so pathetic for so many years?
The brain cannot go more than 4 minutes without oxygen. The cousin was dead before Parul could even get to the market.
Okay, so hello, Mom? How did you let him get away with this multiple times? You can't just blame this on SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. Yes, right? SIDS. You can't just blame this on SIDS, assuming they even know what SIDS is. The baby's beaten up and then strangulated. Like, they're going to see the strangulation marks. Like, how did he get away with this to go kill 2 more?
What?
So Amar felt like he had more time. He grabbed his baby cousin and hauled him to the backyard. And at first he thought, okay, maybe I'm just going to lay him in the grass. But it just didn't feel like enough. So he grabbed a nearby brick and started slamming it onto the delicate skull.
This is not. So this is the This is the same child. I thought this was a different scenario, not the. Okay, so I was confused. I thought this was a different baby, is what I was thinking this entire time. But no, this is the same baby from earlier at the beginning. I thought that the baby was a girl, and I thought it was like a niece or something, not a cousin. I guess it was the niece of Amar. No, not the niece of Amar. I'm confused on the family. It's it's the aunts, but the word niece, I'm pretty sure, was used at some point. I just don't know where it would be used. But give me a second. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I was just hyper confused on like the lineage here, but it is his cousin. It's the nephew of the mom. But I could have sworn she said niece at the beginning, but I went back and looked, and she said nephew. Yeah, I was just like confused on like the cousin and niece and nephew thing, but it is his cousin, and it is the mother's nephew. I don't know why I thought it was a niece. That's just my bad.
Grabbed his baby cousin and hauled him to the backyard. And at first he thought, okay, maybe I'm just going to lay him in the grass. But it just didn't feel like enough. So he grabbed a nearby brick and started slamming it onto the delicate skull. And he did this until there was allegedly brain matter splattered all over the grass around.
Again, viewer discretion advised. Probably extreme viewer discretion is advised after that. I don't end up saying that at the beginning of these videos. I probably should. I don't know if she does. I don't remember hearing it, but she probably does, right? I have it written on the thumbnail anyways, but I'll add the extreme tagline this time around because we are talking about children.
Wait, why did he do that?
This becomes a thing that he seems to do quite a bit. Other sources
But it's like it's just his thing as a serial killer, as a psychopath.
say that he also tended to shove mud into their mouths. But that one was not as verifiable, so. And finally, when he felt satisfied enough, he grabbed the little family shovel nearby and starts digging this shallow grave. He places his cousin inside and he starts pushing all of this dirt that he can find on top. Whatever left over of the brain matter, he went and sprinkled some dirt and loose grass, like loose as if he just pulled it out and sprinkled it on top. Just sprinkled it on top and then went inside. The whole thing took less than half an hour. When Parul came home, Amar seemed like he was deep in this like solo play session with his toy cars, just as if nothing had happened. And if you remember from the beginning of this episode, his mom is telling him like, where did you hide the baby? Come on, this is not a fun prank. He leads her to the backyard and points at the ground where he had just buried his cousin. And he just straight up tells his mom everything. In almost this, in Korean we call it banbane, which means just so blunt to the point where it's like just not socially acceptable. He would say things like, yeah, I mean, I killed him. I hit him in the head with the brick. And she just lost it. Now, I don't know how she got through the next few hours. It's not like she could call her husband to come home because he was at work where she couldn't reach him. She couldn't call her sister for help. She couldn't even call the police because her motherly instinct told her that she couldn't turn in her own child.
I figured she was just going to turn him in, but like again, yeah, that is something you have to deal with. Do you betray your child for justice or not?
Wow, no way.
So she waited until Amar's dad got home.
I mean, it's not like the kid's going to go anywhere, right? So I guess wait for your husband to like talk about it, but I don't know. See, they don't know he's a psychopath, right? So.
And what he did is also very confusing. He grabbed his belt and beat Amar within an inch of his life.
Okay.
Amar kneeled in front of them and he's bleeding. He's like a mess. And the parents are pacing around the house trying to figure out what to do next. And they're trying.
I thought he might get spanked or something, and just because, even though it's just like reactionary thing of a parent's, I guess, but like he killed someone. Like that's not like no, that's still weird on their end as well. But you're also just, well, she said beat him to an inch of his life, which means you're possibly going to get in trouble, and it's going to make it harder for them to actually believe that the child did it. Because now it's like you're throwing the child on the bus for something you did, because there's a dead child and your son's beaten up. It puts the blame more on you than the child. And even like I'm questioning the story now. Like, is Amar even a serial killer, or is it actually the father or the parents, and they're blaming it on the son? Now that you've done that, 'cause like now you've put that thought in my head. Now that you've done this.
Trying to reason with themselves. They're like, he's just a kid, you know? There's just no way that he knew what he was doing. He probably doesn't even know what death is, right? And they were probably just playing. And I mean, there's no way that he meant to do this. But what do? We have a body in our backyard. Do we call the police? No, that's going to ruin his life. He's just a kid. We can punish him ourselves, punish him so badly that he will never, ever think of doing something like this ever again.
But what about your sister?
You know, what's done is done. Going to the police is not going to change anything. So they wait. And a month later, when Mina walks through the door, she saw the couple sitting on the couch waiting for her. And they were like at the edge of their seats, as if they had been waiting on her. And it's just unsettling. It's weird. And she's like, hey guys, what's going on? Like, why are you guys so serious? It said that Amar's dad got up, walked up straight to Mina, and dropped to his knees. What's going on? What are you doing? And he said, please, it was just an accident. Mina was so confused, so she's looking at her sister, who's sobbing on the couch, and her face is in her hands. I mean, her whole body is shaking. And between sobs, she says, Amar and the baby were playing, but there was an accident, and now he's dead, and we had to bury him because the neighbors were going to find out. So they begged, with a hysterical Mina, please, you cannot let this get out. His life.
I don't know if you like what do you do in that situation as like the sister? Would you just like tank it, or would you just like nah? I like you just ruined my life. I'm calling the police, and just like, and again I don't know what you do. I feel like you would just like lose it and get the authorities in, but I don't know. Would you uh side with your sister over your child? Like you have, like who do you pick, right? You just, I would assume people would choose their children over the rest of their family, question mark. Just normally, again, question mark. So is that what's going to happen here?
So they begged, with a hysterical Mina, please, you cannot let this get out. His life is going to be ruined, and it's not like it's going to change anything. We will carry this burden for the rest of our lives. I will promise you that. It said that Mina looked for Amar, her son's killer, and he was hiding halfway behind a door, and he was peeking out with half of his body, like half of his face was visible. And it said
Let me guess, was he smiling?
that she didn't need to see his whole face to know that he was smiling.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, Mina agreed not to file charges. Maybe it was for her sister. Maybe she agreed somewhat with the logic that Amar's life would be ruined and it wouldn't bring back her son. And not only that, but I think a big aspect is it would probably ruin her family relationship, not just with her sister, but probably with everybody else too. I mean, even if they don't know what's going on, it's going to be tense. It's going to be family drama. Not that.
I don't know if the sister has a husband, question mark. How is this going to go with the husband, assuming there is one? I don't remember if we heard that or not. I think obviously Amar has a dad. I think the dad's the one who goes to from area to area looking for work for the day. But we don't know if the mother. I mean, I guess if the mother had a uh, husband, then she wouldn't have to have left the baby with him. So I think that's why the mother doesn't have a dad, or the child doesn't have a dad. That would make sense why she'd have to leave them with him.
That, this isn't, but for whatever reason, the police never found out. And within 6 months, it's like Amar's parents forgot the whole thing. I mean, they really dote on him. I don't know if I want to call it the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if I want to call it like the son syndrome, which I've experienced in South Korean culture, which is when parents are so obsessed with their sons, they think like their sons are Jesus Christ reincarnated. I don't know. Maybe
there's still a corpse of an infant in your backyard, and I feel like that's going to eventually get uprooted at some point.
Maybe it's that, but they just like put it past them. They pushed the accident, that's what they considered it, an accident, to the back of their minds, and their logic was, this is a one-time mistake. A mistake that a child made because they didn't know better.
Where's that brick, by the way? Because that's evidence that could be found.
And now he knows better. He knows that hitting people with bricks is not a thing that you do. Side note, I personally feel like that's not something that needs to be taught, but here we are. And the parents believed wholeheartedly Ammar just didn't know better at the time.
I mean, you could argue that it's not something that should be needed to be taught. Like, just don't hit people, of course, because you don't want to hurt them. But I've had a rock thrown at my head before in elementary school. So, I mean, kids don't know. Like, and his excuse was just like, because he wanted to. Like, something like that. It's just so long ago, right? But like, I had a rock thrown at my head in elementary school. I don't know how big of a rock it was because I didn't see it. I just felt it. But it was enough to really upset me for a long time that day. So I'm pretty sure it was a pretty decent sized rock and it really hurt. So again, like, I don't think children understand too much of what they should and shouldn't do. Obviously, that's your job to teach them that, but I feel like just waving it off as saying it's not something that needed to be taught, I think is being a bit too naive, question mark. Like, I think you might need to teach, well, not necessarily don't hit people with bricks, but don't do something like that in like a general sense. That's what I'm saying.
Which is why they felt like it was okay to bring another infant into the house. This time, it was Ammar's baby sister.
Oh yeah, because the mom was pregnant. Like, don't tell me he kills the sister too. I mean, he has 3 victims, right? So I'm guessing the second one is the sister. What is wrong with you? Are really obsessed with this child so much that you forgot that he murdered a 6-month-old, and now you're bringing in a new child? I mean, you can't help giving birth to the child, but it was already there when he killed the cousin. But still, like, really?
She gave birth.
Yeah.
We already knew this a long time ago. Keep up.
And his parents were so ecstatic. They had always wanted 1 boy, 1 girl in that order. And they sat Ammar down, let him hold his baby sister for the first time, and they told him, this is your little sister.
Don't let him drop it.
You're big brother now. You have to protect and look after her. This is your job. Do you understand? And he would smile and nod. And for a while, everything in the house was normal. Like, Ammar was back to climbing trees, scraping his knees, living his best life. Which, side note, imagine being the aunt and seeing Ammar live the life that your own son will never get to live. Like, I don't know how I could even face any of them after that. Ammar was actually good for a minute. He was good with his sister. His parents...
He's in the cooling period, as they used in that description of a psychopath.
Parents would smile as they would walk by, and Ammar would be sitting by his little sister's crib, watching over her protectively. Or they would all be eating dinner together, and his little baby sister would eat peas for the first time, and she would flick them at people, and he would just smile so lovingly. And as the baby sister got a little bit older, a few months old, she started smiling back at him. Until one afternoon, the whole family was having quiet time. I don't know if you guys have quiet time in your
Okay, so they're all together.
family, but it's usually after lunch. So the whole family is instructed to go back to their rooms to do something quiet. Like,
I haven't heard of that before.
after lunch, you go read a book, you nap, you do puzzles, whatever it may be. You cannot be loud, you cannot turn on the TV. So Parul and her husband were taking a nap in their rooms, and I believe their door was open. The baby was in her crib.
Okay, this is how this ends up coming to fruition, because they're asleep, leaving their child unattended, both of their children unattended technically, even if they believe that their oldest is taking care of the other one. Like, how do you forget that he murdered the child?
Parul and her husband were taking a nap in their rooms, and I believe their door was open. The baby was in her crib taking a nap as well, and the baby wasn't inside their room, but because their door was open and their house was not big, they could hear everything. I mean, if they heard that baby cry, they could be there in like 5 seconds max.
5 seconds is too long. You need to be there within one, if not faster.
Amar was in his room, quietly playing with his toys. And at this point, a full 8 months had passed since Amar's cousin was killed by Amar. And I'm not sure why. Perhaps out of sheer boredom, curiosity, or just some sort of sick, deranged twistedness. Amar got up, tiptoed his way over to his little sister's crib. She wasn't asleep. She was staring blankly at the ceiling. She's kind of half smiling at Amar as he's staring over her. He leans down as if he's going to pick her up. And then as fast as lightning, his hands wrap around her neck. Her airway is completely obstructed. She could not cry or scream. She could only wave her arms and kick her legs.
That's what I was assuming. Like, if you start to strangle her, she can't cry, which means the parents won't wake up to help the baby.
He used all of his might to strangle her, and eventually even her legs stopped kicking. He stared at her limp body for maybe a few seconds before he slithered back into his room, just leaving her like that in the crib. He went back to playing with his toys as if nothing had happened.
Now, again, there's potentially a third victim, so you better not... I mean, he's still going to get away with another one, right? But how? They better not blame this on SIDS. Again, sudden infant death syndrome. It better not come to that. They better understand what had just happened, or they're just going to play it off like, oh no, he did it again. We got to hide this one too, but we just don't tell anybody. We'll just act like we never had a kid.
When his parents woke up, he heard them make their way to the baby's crib. And Perul saw that her baby girl was just sleeping. So she leaned down to kind of stroke her cheek. And as soon as she touched her chubby little cheek, she jerked her hand back. Her baby's skin was cold, like stone cold. And she turned around and she called for her husband. And in the corner of her eye, she could see Amar, and he was playing with his toys on the floor. She marched up to him. What have you done? What have you done? Did you kill your sister?
If you didn't forget, why'd you leave him alone? Hello?
Amar looked up and nodded. Some sources say that he was smiling. Amar's father took a few big steps, raised his hand above his head, and slapped the 8-year-old with the entire force of a full-grown man. I mean, that effectively knocked the smile out of Amar's face. He started sobbing on the floor. His parents are screaming, "Why? Why would you do this? Why did you do this? Answer the question." Amar's mom was on the floor, like hysterical. She was losing her mind, rightfully so. It got to the point where neighbors started gathering outside their door.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, there's no way, because of their living in poverty slightly, right, that this isn't just being heard across all of their location, and then neighbors aren't hearing this. Probably these paper-thin walls, etc., etc. So I was gonna say, like, these neighbors are gonna start hearing this. If, like, there's no way that their neighbors aren't hearing this, and in fact, that is what happened.
Because there was so much of a ruckus. They wanted to know if they were okay. Some of the neighbors actually rushed in through the door without knocking because they thought something horrible was happening to the family. And when they run in, they're processing the scene. The entire family is in the living room. I mean, the parents are beyond hysterical. It's not even like they got robbed. Like, the feeling is something terrible, terrible happened. Amar is being punished, and there's a dead baby in the crib.
Oh, they saw the dead baby?
Yeah, so they're putting 2 and 2 together, these neighbors. They try to calm down the father, Amar's father, and reason with him. We have to report this to the police. You have to put a stone in your heart. It's going to be rough, but you have to do it. And the dad allegedly said, no, I'm going to kill him myself.
I mean, but anyways, there's no really getting out of it now, since, again, the neighbors have now introduced themselves into this scenario. So again, how do we get the third one? Unless it was apparently he did this before the cousin. But I mean, obviously the father does not kill Amar, so I think he's just like filled with wrath at this point, but it's probably going to eventually extinguish at some point.
The neighbors had to physically hold him back.
Okay, so yeah, they just hold him down.
Now, Amar is sitting there, just tears running down his face, and he's angry now. You know when you scold a child for too long, sometimes they get angry, I guess.
Yeah, like angry instead of upset.
And he's screaming like a petulant child, so what if I killed her? I mean, even the neighbors didn't know what to say.
Freaking way.
Yeah, I mean, like, this isn't really making it hard for yourself to like come back from this, but I don't think he really cares, right? He's a psychopath.
Killed her. I mean, even the neighbors didn't know what to say.
Freaking way.
They got quiet on this one. Like, so what? So what? How do you even answer that? It's almost as if he's asking, so what if I ate the cookie before dinner? Why should I be punished for something that's not the end of the world? And the neighbors are like, okay, we can't do anything about this. So they silently hush each other out of there. I mean, there was nothing that they could do to help now. This kid was beyond helpable in their belief. And the next 2 days, they just anxiously waited around to see if Amar's parents had gone to the police. Instead,
Did they bury this child with the cousin?
showed up at each neighbor's doorstep with a favor.
To be quiet, really?
If you could just please keep quiet about what you saw. It's a family matter, and we would like to handle it within our family. We're going to make sure that Amar learns his lesson, so please, we're already suffering, so don't make it worse for us. If you want to help, just please stay quiet.
Really? Learn your lesson after you've done it twice now?
I think the parents' logic was they already lost one child, and putting another one in jail would be effectively losing him as well. I think that they also hoped that they could maybe beat the murderous tendencies out of their son.
I mean, you've lost 2 children because you've lost your niece. I mean, why can't I get over the niece? You lost your nephew, right? Which you could hold as like almost like another child of yours because it's your sister's child. So you've lost 2 children now, and yet you still are not giving up. I mean, again, parents are obsessed with their children. They don't want to admit that they're evil. They just want to. They don't want to turn them in. I mean, sure. I mean, some parents will turn their children in because if they're evil, they need to be punished. But I feel like there are some parents who, like, no matter what their child ends up doing, they will just be on their side. They'll help them get away with it, etc., etc.
I guess they thought, he's just 9. Maybe we can teach
Oh,
him
he's
for the
9
next
now.
decade what he did is bad, and eventually he can move on, get a job, get a wife, have children of his own.
Though, I can't remember what I was gonna say.
Listen, I'm not sure I'm on board with this logic, but also I've never been a parent, so maybe I wouldn't know. Leave it in the comments if you're a parent. Like, does this logic make sense, or is this kind of crazy? There is some cultural context as well. So in India, especially in rural areas, the family last name it's everything. It's kind of like that in East Asian culture as well. I think Japan, from what I hear, has a very strong belief in this. But family members want their last names to have esteem, high regard, respect, or at least in the lowest situations, be a neutral name. So doing something that disrespects the family, it doesn't just look bad on you, it looks bad on the whole family. At this point, the Sada family were known around town as hardworking, respectable. If word got out that Amar killed his own baby sister, their whole family would suffer. I mean, Amar's dad might not be able to even get a job or put food on the table for the whole family. Their family will not be able to escape this reputation for probably generations. That's how bad it is. I suppose they maybe didn't want to cause even more harm to their extended family members as well. I guess their logic was, well, it's not going to bring back the 2 victims. So they convinced themselves they're going to punish Amar so deeply, so badly, that he's never going to do this again. Side note, his cooldown period was 8 months between his first and second murder. He only waited 8 months. The first cool-off period is usually the longest, and sometimes with certain serial killers, it can last like a year or even longer. But his was only 8 months, and he's 8. So I don't know what the psychology behind that is, honestly.
So is his next cooldown going to be even shorter or longer?
Maybe the time would have been shorter if he had access to another infant, or
I mean, he literally didn't have anything nearby that he could kill. Like, he's only killing infants that actually can't really fight back. I mean, if he had any friends and he tried to kill them, they could fight him back. Like, he's only going after things literally weaker than him. And there's not much things weaker than a child other than a younger child. Or not even like a younger child, because a younger child could do something, right? This is like, we're talking about infants now. Like, that's like literally the only thing weaker than him. He's preying on the
or
weak.
maybe, you can't help but wonder, maybe if his parents hadn't chosen to forget the first incident, would there even be a second incident? Well, one thing's for sure, the neighbors would never forget. Khushbu's mom was not a neighbor. She didn't even know Amar, but she did have an 8-month-old daughter named Khushbu, who would have been very hard, very difficult to run errands with. So Mrs. C is what we're going to call her, the mom. She had a few errands to run on her list and thought, okay, there is no way that I can get all of this done before the shops close if I take Khushbu with me. So she needed somewhere to drop off her baby for the day, and she chose this local daycare. Okay, like remember how I said there's not really daycares? It's not really a daycare. A lot of sources indicate that it seems more like it was a business run out of someone's home.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of moms just watching a ton of kids for the neighbors. There wasn't like cameras. It wasn't an established business. There wasn't a certain number of like regulations they were following. It's like an at-home daycare. Now, Khushbu had already fallen asleep on the way to the daycare, so it was kind of perfect. Mrs. C would run her errands, drop the groceries back off at her home, and be back to pick up Khushbu before she even woke up from her afternoon nap.
Don't tell me that Amar is at this daycare right now.
By the time she gets back to the daycare, you guessed it, Khushbu, who was once sound asleep, is gone. She's gone. She's not there.
Oh, no, she's missing, not dead. She's missing.
Physically gone.
Physically gone. So, I mean, this daycare serviced a lot of people. There were a lot of crazy toddlers running around. And because this was an underserved area, there were no door locks, childproofing, security cameras, or even like a receptionist watching the front desk at all times. It was, it just wasn't that secure. And I'm sure if Khushbu was crying and woke up crying, one of the daycare workers would have noticed and heard and rushed over to the room and helped her. But she was just gone. And the locals, they start freaking out. They start full on panicking. They had no idea where she had gone. Could someone really have come in and taken her? That doesn't make sense.
Except if some of these people know about Amar, and they know that there's a killer child out there, and they're like, oh wait, oh no, we know exactly where the child is.
I mean, when you think of someone that goes into a daycare and steals a child, I'm sure we all have like the same kind of image in our head. It's like this older man, looks creepy, looks like a serial killer.
The older man, or you could go there, but also you need to be worried about mothers as well who can't have children. Like you can't just, you could argue like, yeah, like so 70, 80, maybe 90% are men, but you also need to be worried about women who want children of their own and can't have them for some reason. They will kidnap children and try to raise them as their own child. So you need to be worried about that too. Not just, you have to be vigilant of everybody. It's not just, old creepy men. It's also maybe just like a nice looking woman who just happens to want to steal your child because she wants a child of her own.
But the
Or maybe
daycare
she's
workers
just,
would have
or maybe she's just crazy too. You can go this too, but I think it's just because she wants to steal your kid.
it's like this older man, looks creepy, looks like a serial killer. But the daycare workers would have noticed. Are you kidding? It's not that big of a space. I mean, she's too small to run off on her own, so this doesn't make sense either. So the police get involved, the neighbors get involved, everyone is whispering about all the possibilities. Well, maybe there was a nasty man who's going.
Okay, well, we got the police involved, so that's 3 strikes are out for Amar.
Everyone is whispering about all the possibilities. Well, maybe there was a nasty man who's going around kidnapping children, and maybe he's so good at being discreet. Maybe the daycare workers accidentally hurt her, and now they're trying to cover for it. There were so many speculations running through people's minds, but once the news traveled, and it traveled fast, by the way, once it traveled to Amar's home and to all of his neighbors, they're all looking at each other like, I don't think we're looking for some 50-year-old creepy man. I think it's Amar. It actually wasn't a neighbor that reported Amar. It was one of Amar's own family members, an auntie of his, who had heard of everything that happened with both the
kids.
victims.
Okay, so it's a sister of the mom, but not the one that lost the child. It was a different sister reported it.
And she quietly found Khushbu's mom, pulled her to the side and said, I heard about what happened. I don't really know how else to put this, but I have this nephew, and he's got a history, if you will, of just doing some evil things to babies. I feel like he's involved. People did not take this lightly. This is coming from an extended family member. Like, you just don't say things like this. Even the idea that a small kid could do something so evil is out of this world. It just doesn't make sense that this was a baseless accusation or a lie.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure they wouldn't never expect someone to throw their own family under the bus like that. So they have to just take it as face value that it's true.
Amar was now suspect number 1. The entire community formed an angry mob and stormed up to the Seda house. They demanded that the parents bring Amar to them. Initially, his parents tried to reason with the crowd. They're standing on the porch like he's just a boy. How could he be responsible for this? Think about it, everyone. He's a boy. You guys have kids. Think about it. Besides, bring us the evidence and we will bring you Amar. The neighbors would not give in. They stood outside until Amar was finally pushed out of his own home. He stepped out onto the porch in front of the crowd, and allegedly they were screaming, "Tell us what you did. Tell us."
I'm guessing because he has no sense of like lying about things. He's just going to straight up be like, yeah, I did it.
Us what you did to that baby girl. Some people said he smiled as he said this.
Yeah, I mean, we already knew that the smile was going to happen, but did he actually admit to it is what I'm assuming.
But he bluntly stated, "I killed her." And the mob of people dragged Amar from his porch and demanded he take them to where Khushbu was. He led them to the edge of town, and there was like a little pile of rocks covered with loose dirt and grass. And he pointed right there. The mob ran to the police, and they didn't care that Amar's parents didn't want to ruin his life. Now their own children, their own families were in danger. So they ran all the way to the police station, told them everything that they knew.
Yeah. Oh,
And side note, were
that
in
was really
danger.
loud, weirdly. It's only a matter of time. Like, the older he gets, unless he just ends up having a thing for killing infants, and that never stops, or that just never goes away. But the older he gets, and the more strength that he gets, the higher, like the older that number gets that he can actually start killing people. So if they just kept having him around, he might just keep killing older and older people. And then once he's an adult, he's just gonna start killing adults. So that's also something that could have ended up happening.
So they ran all the way to the police station, told them everything that they knew. And side note, Mrs. C would do an interview a little bit later on, and she tells a completely different story of how it all went down. She stated that Amar came up to her directly and asked if he could play with the baby. And she stated she didn't think much of it because she was running errands, and this is like a cute little 8-year-old boy. So she was like, "Okay, I guess you can play with my baby."
She shared that version?
Yes, later on. So, okay, the story contradicts Mrs. C's own police reports from the day of the incident, as well as a ton of witness testimonies. It also contradicts Amar's own confession. So most people don't believe that this new version of events is the true version.
But
No-
why?
Yeah, so there's some speculations. Nobody knows exactly why. Some people speculate it's because the daycare that she dropped Khushbu off wasn't really a daycare. Some speculate that she just kind of dropped her baby off somewhere in like the public space to run errands, and then she like made up the daycare story and then was like, ooh, then they're going to want to know which daycare and all of that. Then some people stated, oh no, she actually went to a daycare, but she probably didn't want that daycare to get the heat. So then she changed her story. Either way, I don't think that her new story is the real version of events.
That's just getting muddy.
But Amar had taken another life. He was finally arrested May 30th of 2007.
Okay, 2007, I hadn't even graduated high school yet at that point, just to put that in perspective.
And he quickly confessed everything to the police. And this is where the case is so confusing. Amar said he wanted to confess because his parents taught him that lying is bad.
Yeah, because I don't think he's ever lied, right? He kind of just tells it how it is.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, every time someone asks him, he just said it.
yeah.
But this is so weird.
So lying is like a cardinal sin for him. Clearly, he didn't think murdering 3 people was that bad. When asked about why he killed them, he said, because I wanted to. I didn't see why I shouldn't. A lot of people, including myself, are so confused about this case because ultimately Amar had 2 parents that loved him, maybe a bit too much, but they loved him. He had a roof over his head. He had food on the table. He had tons of neighborhood friends before he pushed them all away. And the question around this case is a killer born or is a killer created? Or is it a bit of both? I feel like a long time ago, we actually did an episode where we theorized a bit. And quick disclaimer, I'm not an expert, I'm not a psychologist, but we were talking about how it seems like some people start out fine and then suddenly their lives just start spiraling into this black hole of crime, like a just rabbit hole of death. And you can see cases where the killer is just like all the other kids growing up. And the only difference is maybe they have like a slightly abusive parent or a slightly absent parent, or maybe they have a bully at school. Or the most random one that I've seen in so many cases is they fall off a swing and hit their heads.
Yes.
And it's like, it's happened so many times and it's just the weirdest. It's weird.
I feel like I know about the swing one, but it's so out of my memory at this point. That just sounds vaguely familiar. Wait, it's like it's coming back to me in real time. The swing one. I just can't remember, but no, I definitely know about the swing person. Wait, was the swing one the guy? Was this in Russia? The the swing one, the man who was killing people in the forest, like women, I think. Like he would take them out to the forest on like a date or something, and then kill them there. And I think he was playing chess with one guy as well at some point. Like, is this that guy, or is that is a completely different story that I'm thinking of? If I just pulled that out of a hat right there, and that actually is the story, then wow. But yeah, I don't know if those stories are connected, but I feel like that's all I could think of when I think about the swing. I don't think the swing is that one, but maybe it was. I just know I've heard this story before for sure with the swing. But if we want to speculate, I mean, she's trying to do speculation here, right? Again, like it could be there's a plethora of options, right? Of what could have happened here with this child. Like she said, it could be a bit of both or whatever. We can go with the scientific reasons. We can go with semi religious, metaphysical slash spiritual reasoning, and then we can just go full evil situation. So you can go scientific. Well, he was just born a psychopath. His brain was made in a way to not understand death or whatever. So he's born a psychopath. So there's not much you could do about it. The middle part would be the soulless part, which again, like I've mentioned this before, I have a friend who's like very religious, but also believes in witchcraft and thinks he can do all that stuff. So it's like children aren't born with souls in their opinion, and they don't get them until a certain age. So he might have just never gotten a soul. Like I would assume, like what I refer to as gaining consciousness. I would guess that would be when you get a soul is when your consciousness kicks in. Uh, so we could go with like again. This is just like we're just making stuff up right here. We obviously don't take any of this too seriously. Take it all with a grain of salt. So soulless path as well. So he just never got a soul, and if you don't have a soul, well, then you just are naturally a psychopath because you have no gauges for good or evil. Question mark. You might as well just be a psychopath if you have no soul. And then the third option, which is like the pure evil, like they're like a demon or whatever, right? They were given, they were born as like a devil or whatever. But we're just like making like random scenarios here of why he's like this, right? And you can go back to like the first one with him being a psychopath, being pampered to oblivion could have also been a thing as well. So that could have added to that as well, that's why the bit of both, right? They were kind of like their brain is developed in a way that caused them to be this way, but also being pampered to the utmost also caused them, like it just stacked on top of that. Like again, who knows? Maybe I don't know if we're gonna get any conclusion to the CAT scans on this child's head. This was 2007, so he is old now, assuming he's still alive. He's almost 30. Right, because it was 2007. It's almost 20 years from then, and he was 8 when he was caught, ish. So yeah, he's almost 30. So he's in his late 20s now, assuming he's still alive again. I don't know if we really want to go into it because I don't know if anyone finds that interesting to even have that conversation. I feel like some people are not necessarily too sensitive or just don't even want to hear any other kind of viewpoint on that. Like again, like psychopath, soulless, or devil scenarios, which I kind of just like thinking about that kind of stuff. I don't have issues seeing other sides of the story like that. I have no issue with that. But yeah, who knows what it could be.
It seems like that's a key moment that has them going 50 miles an hour towards the dark side, falling off a swing.
Yeah, so there's definitely brain injury.
Yeah,
Happens.
to the frontal lobe is what people suspect.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, okay, if that hadn't happened, would they have lived a different life? But then again, there's a ton of people who are dealt much worse cards and they never kill anyone. So it can't just be the environment. So maybe the conclusion is a little bit of both. So let's say each time a person is born, they're either born a teddy bear or as a gun. And as they live life, all the little bits of trauma or sometimes even perceived trauma become bullets. And you can put a bullet in a teddy bear, but it's not going to do anything but hurt the teddy bear. But if you put bullets continuously into a gun, all it takes is a little bit of pressure and boom. And again, this is no way of excusing it. Like being
A pretty good analogy, honestly.
born a certain way is no excuse to take a life or hurt another person, but that's kind of how I explain it in my head to make it make sense. It's obviously oversimplified, but it's weird that so many people can live such similar lives, such traumatic lives, and one is a killer and one is a guidance counselor / activist that helps others. So the only way that I can try and understand today's case is, I was thinking, okay, if Amar had committed these crimes when he was older, like when he was in his 20s, I would probably assume that he was born a gun and through life trauma, he became a serial killer. But he's 8. He's 8.
Yeah, that's...
So do we just conclude that he was born a fully loaded gun? Were there any additional things that
Again, like going even there, that makes an analogy even deeper. Like, was he born a fully loaded gun? That's like a pretty good line.
have pushed him over the edge at such a young age? Honestly, I don't know. I tried to comb through all of the research, and obviously with the help of our wonderful researchers, there's just a few things that we could find, and I'm not even sure how much these contribute. Amar's family was part of the scheduled caste, aka the untouchables in India. We did a case that covered the caste system. Side note, the caste
I think that's like you're at the bottom of the classes being the untouchables, I believe. I don't really know anything about it, but it seems like I may have heard that before, and I think it just means you are at the very bottom of society, which is why you're called the untouchables. It's not like, oh, you're so high up, you're untouchable. It's like you're so disgusting, you're untouchable.
caste system has since been abolished in India, but from what my researchers have told me, in a lot of parts of India, the system is very much upheld socially.
Can you explain that again?
Yes. Okay. So the caste system in India is a social power pyramid, to put it simply. And we have the same thing in the US. It's just not as rigid. We've got the upper class, then we've got the middle upper class, then the middle class, then the middle lower class, then the lower class. You get it. That's basically it. But with the caste system, it's based on who you're born into, which I guess is the same in America, right? So the people at the top of the pyramid, they're the priests, they're the scholars, they are considered like the custodians of knowledge. And then under them, you have warriors and rulers. They're the ones that protect the land and the people. And then below that, you have merchants and farmers. Okay, the way I see it is like you've got academic elitists, then you've got maybe business owners, landowners, and then you've got white collar workers, blue collar workers. It's kind of that pyramid. At the bottom, you have laborers and servants, and these castes, they make up a pyramid. But then there's this other rectangle that's not part of the pyramid. It's underneath the pyramid, and it's not touching the pyramid. It's completely separate.
Yeah, because they are untouchable.
This is the untouchable caste.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's really sad. They're born into a life of discrimination and they're considered unpure and untouchable by other higher castes. Usually the only jobs that this caste can have access to is sewage cleaning, handling animal carcasses, and scavenging. It's said that if they're even able to get a job in an area where other higher castes live, they have to work at night so the higher castes won't even see them or accidentally, oh my God, touch them. Hence the name untouchables or even the scheduled caste. They aren't allowed to touch other caste members or their belongings. And if you're like, okay, well, this sounds like a long time ago, I will say a lot of things are changing in India, but in 2020, a man of the scheduled caste was allegedly stripped naked in public and beaten because he touched an upper caste man's motorcycle. Which is crazy because, again, the caste system has been outlawed in 1950.
1950, Jesus Christ, that was a long time ago. And yet here we are still doing it.
But because this system has been around for 2,000 years, I mean, socially, it's going to be very hard to get rid of. Not too long ago, 2 boys were allegedly stripped and beaten for swimming in a well that belonged to an upper caste family. Woman.
Oh, wait, hold on. I noticed that my internet had disconnected, so I had to unplug the Ethernet, plug it back in. No big deal.
In the scheduled caste are a lot more vulnerable to physical and sexual violence because they're literally seen as less than human. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of people try to uphold this system because, well, for one, I'm sure as long as you're not in the bottom, you benefit. So you want to uphold the system that rewards you. But in addition to that, my researchers told me that the Hindu reincarnation belief suggests that your actions in this life.
Yes. It's like when you get reincarnated, it depends on what you did beforehand. So if you were just such a heinous, horrible person, you could like end up a cockroach, right, or something like that. So it's playing into this system as well. It's like you're in the untouchables because you were a bad person in the previous life, I'm guessing, is what they're going to go.
Influence how you will be reincarnated in your future life. So I know when you, like, I know as a Westerner or someone that's not familiar with this, it almost feels like, oh, wait, that's literally just discrimination. Okay, how are they okay with that? But if you believe in reincarnation, and if you believe that if you live a really good life and you're very faithful, you will have a chance of being reincarnated into a more privileged setting. If you commit a crime or if you don't lead a good life, you're going to be reincarnated into a lower caste. So a lot of people who follow this theology believe that their caste position is a result of their own deeds in their past lives and not luck and not being born into it and not being like a sperm fight. So they feel like they deserve whatever caste they're in. It's to the point that a lot of people in the scheduled caste actually believe that they must have lived terrible lives before this. Again, this is from my personal research online and assistance from our Indian researchers. I'm no expert in Hindu theology, so please let me know if there's other components to this in the comments. And I do want to reiterate, I would say that modern India, like most people in India, are like, this caste system sucks. Like, why are people still socially upholding it? I think the government is trying to do like some sort of, would you call it restitutions? They're trying to give more opportunities to the scheduled caste to uplift them now. But it was rough. So Mar was part of this social caste, and I'm sure that his life was impacted deeply by this, but I don't think that's an excuse because, I mean...
Yeah, it's just this is just unheard of, whatever he did.
Yeah. And some people speculate that he was always jealous of other kids, but I don't know. And like maybe that jealousy led to this anger and hatred for children. I don't really think so.
It's just crazy because, you know, as an adult, you can kind of like analyze their behavior.
Yeah.
But when someone's at 8, their brain's not even developed yet. So I don't even know, like, how can... you have to have like a child specialist to analyze that.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going on. Like, I don't even know at what stage of learning is he at. Like, what is he learning right now?
Yeah. I would...
Like I said, he's already he's still before the premeditated stage. If we're going off of 11 being that stage, he still isn't even able to think about his thoughts and in a future tense, right? He's unable to premeditate his actions, so he's just thinking, I'm going to kill.
I would say even in a lot of serial killer cases that we've covered, they usually start hurting animals maybe around this age, but even then, probably a little bit later. I feel like 8 is...
I know normally if you're a serial killer / if you're a psychopath, you kill animals in your youth, but he's already like skipped that phase. We didn't hear about him hurting animals, and he's just hurting infants, which might as well be animals to him if we're gonna think about it. Like it's just the same thing, right? He's just hurting something that it cannot fight back, has no say in what's happening. Though again, human babies are the weakest thing on the planet, so technically an animal has more um, say than even an infant. So he's going even lower than most animals, I would say, since at least animals can like at least try to fight back, or they understand that they're in danger and they can like try to run away, etc., etc. But like again, an infant child can't do jack.
Usually the age where they're still being victimized by someone or something in their lives. And then once they get a little bit bigger, maybe like early teens, that's when they start being a menace and they're like, let me take it out. Let me be the perpetrator. And they start doing things to animals, typically, is like from at least what I've seen the pattern of. But this is crazy.
Like we're not really gonna talk about this, I'm assuming, because it's only like what, uh, 5 minutes left of this episode. But the father was beating the crud out of him after he's killing, which sure he was killing, but does that imply that he was hitting Amar before this? Because it seems he was just so easily able to just start beating Amar after the kill. I mean, he did kill somebody, but still, you could, like, if you're trying to reach, like for anything, the biggest reach of how he could have got this way, like maybe the father accidentally beat him too hard one day and then messed up his frontal lobe. If you even want to go that part, but that's just like you're trying to not make it be he was born a loaded gun. Like that's what you're trying desperately not for it to be that case. I feel like.
I mean, at 8 to not even, I don't want to say start with animals, to not even have this escalation that most serial killers have, but just to go straight into killing is, I don't know. I mean, to put it simply, a lot of people think that he just experienced euphoria and satisfaction by inflicting pain. He chose infants because they could fight back for him to get that satisfaction, but not enough that he would lose the power position. Some people state that he also just doesn't have an innate moral compass like most humans do. Actually, a lot of psychologists who work with him stated this. So you know how even as kids, you know when something doesn't feel right?
Again, if we want to go back to the spiritual / whatever you want to call it, because I don't know what to call it, spiritual, metaphysical / religious, because we're going off of Christianity here when we're talking about souls, I think, or whatever. That you don't have a moral compass if you don't have a soul, right? So that's how you could get to the spot of saying, oh, well, he doesn't have a soul, thus that's why he's able to do such things, or that's why psychopaths are able to do such things, so they don't have a soul.
You're like, okay, most people aren't taught not to steal, but you know, like it's just like human nature to know that this is not right. Like you're like, this is wrong. He doesn't seem to have that. They also speculate that he must have a chemical imbalance in his brain that made him dangerous. A psychotherapist who works at one of India's top institutes for medical science said, such aggression, it may be hereditary and may be caused by great levels of chemical upheaval in the brain. There's got to be something in the brain.
Yeah.
Well, they just said hereditary, so I feel like they're using that caste thing again. I don't know if I could take that, because now you're saying, oh, it's hereditary, so it must be just part of your family giving it to you. And you could argue that since we just talked about the caste stuff, that's kind of bias now. If you're saying it's hereditary, because you could just be saying that because they're the quote unquote untouchables, right?
Side note, there is no evidence that anyone in this family was violent. His dad used physical punishment with Amar, but so did a lot of parents in India and
That's just normal, right?
around the world. And again, I'm not saying like physical punishment is right, but it just doesn't seem to be a direct or only cause of why he did what he did.
Like I was saying, like if you're just trying to grasp any straw of it not being the born that way scenario, then you would be grasping at maybe the dad hit him too hard one time.
It just doesn't seem like he had exceptionally violent or harsh conditions from his parents or even his environment. So in the end, Amar was charged with the murder of Khushbu. He wasn't charged with the murders of his sister or his cousin because his family did not want to press charges against him.
Wow.
Okay, so oof. That means he can get out, which, I mean, again, he's 20 something now. Is he still in jail or is he dead? I feel like they might have much harsher punishments over there.
Wow. Wow, but he still killed them. There needs to be a charge for that to happen?
Yeah, and from what I am able to decipher right now, his mom is like denying it now. She's like, actually, he never killed anybody else. So
I mean, they have to, right? If they need to protect their name, right?
it's kind of a mess. Yeah.
There's not much left of this. I need a little bit more information. Like, where is he right now?
Yeah. Also, under Indian law, a minor cannot be sentenced to death or sent to
Okay.
prison for longer than 3 years. He can spend his time until he's an adult locked away, but it's probably going to be in like a juvenile detention facility. Yeah. So the exact records of his sentence is unknown, but it's assumed that he spent at least 3 years in prison, or like max 3 years in prison, and then he went to a juvenile detention center until he was 18.
So wait, when was this? You said 2000?
Yeah, I said,
Oh, he's out. He's
yeah, like he's been out. Like, if we're going off of that, yeah, he's late 20s.
He's out right now.
Yeah, he's free. He should be 23 now. Yeah.
When was this? A year ago? I feel like he should have been late 20s, right? She says 2007. Unless I'm doing math right. 10 years on top of that is 2017. 10 years on top of that is 2027, right? Am I crazy? I mean, it's 2025 right now, so if he was 8 when he got caught, stack on 20 years from that minus a few, like that's still late 20s, early 20s, or mid 20s, I mean.
Wait, is
No
my math
way.
correct? Yeah.
And do people know where he is?
No. Okay.
Okay, let me see. Oh, you don't even need to do math for him, actually, because of how ages work in this context. If he was 8 in 2007, I don't know how, actually, we don't know what year. Did she, like, repeat herself here? Or she,
Math correct? Yeah. He should be 23 now? Yeah. Wait, is my
No
math
way.
correct?
I'll go back.
So wait, when was this? You said 2000?
Oh, he's out.
She cut herself off. I was pretty sure she's a 2007 earlier once. She said it for a split second. That might have been when he was 7. She said he was 8 when he was caught? Question mark. Was it 8 when he was caught, or was he 8 when he killed? No, he was 9. Okay, maybe he was 8 in 2007. And then 9 when he was caught. But still, if he was 8 in 2007, that means he is 26 right now. Because he should just be 1 year older than whatever year the year is. Right? It's 25, the year 25 right now, so he should be 26.
He's
Oh,
free.
he's out right now.
Yeah, he's free. He should be 23 now? Yeah. Wait, is my
No
math
way.
correct? Yeah.
And do people know where he is?
No. Okay, so rumor has it that he changed his name to Samarjit, and he has since gotten married. Rumor has it, and lives near his mother. Rumor has it. But other than that, he has stayed completely under the radar. We really don't know anything more about him other than his age, a rumored new name, and the fact that he's free. That's it. A lot of netizens believe that Amar has a high chance of committing crimes again. And it's not because people like him cannot be rehabilitated. I don't want to be the one to say that because that just sounds so depressing. But it's less about the fact that, facilities like prisons and juvenile detention centers anywhere in the world, they're not brimming with money. It's not like they have the resources in the world to actually get people help. So they
No.
think that it's only a matter of time until he does something else after being released. Others have stated if we haven't heard anything, he must have changed. But I don't know. There are a lot of discussions on whether or not he should be given the chance to grow because he was 8. What do you think?
Yeah, it's confusing. This is
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
what are your thoughts on this? Do you think 8-year-olds should be able to change even if they were serial killers? Or what if they committed essay, like something deplorable? Or do you feel like, well, commit adult crimes, do adult time? What are your thoughts? Leave it in the comments. Please stay safe. Sorry about my voice. I was coming down with a cold, so I sound so nasally and
That wasn't even, it didn't even cross my mind that she was sick.
stuffy, but please stay safe. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for the main.
Okay, so that was the world's youngest serial killer. Yeah, kind of crazy. Again, I don't know if anybody wants me to go into the whole soulless thing, because I think it's like an interesting topic to talk about, but I feel like just people just don't want to hear that, because they don't want to hear any like viewpoint that might not align with theirs, right? We could talk about it like real quickly as to why that could be a thing, even further than just the whole like consciousness thing. You could just skip past this. The video's over. No one's going to stick around for this. No one ever sticks around for the end of the video, right? So, as far as like Christianity goes with the soulless thing, if you want to go that way, again, I just have like knowledge on a bunch of different sects. I just assume anything and everything is possible, so you might as well know about it all, right? Like, it's not just one thing. We don't know what is or isn't, so you might as well know about everything. So a good reasoning for why there isn't a soul. This might upset you is for when it comes to animals as well, because animals don't have souls in this context either. The reasoning behind why a child would not have a soul until a certain age is because if you've ever heard of the term purgatory babies, it's like if you die like an infant or whatever, you don't have the chance to worship God, and thus you get sent to purgatory or hell or whatever. Which is obviously that's not cool. So you just go with, okay, children aren't born with souls until a certain age. Once they actually have the mental capacity to be able to worship God. I know this is messed up, but we're just going on a weird tangent of like knowledge that I have on this like topic. So that's how you can go say like, oh well, children don't have souls up to a certain point, and that's where like their moral compass comes into play and whatnot, and the whole baptizing thing. And then that applies to animals as well. Like animals don't have souls; they have like spirit and essence and all that stuff, but they don't have a soul because animals can't worship God in this context. So we're applying this to Christianity, but of course, who knows if Christianity is real? But we're just applying this specific spot to Christianity, right? Over any of the other religions. Not that one is real over the other. Again, I'm on the spectrum of anything and everything is real. Religions, aliens, monsters, yada yada, magic, whatever. It can all be real. It can all be fake. Who knows? It's just more interesting to just put hypotheticals out there, right? And then just be like, no, this is not how it. This isn't right. But yeah, animals don't have souls because if they had a soul, that means they're subject to Christianity, and thus they would go to hell because they can't worship God. They don't physically have the capacity to worship God, thus they would go to hell. So that's, if you're worried about your animals going to hell, they can't go to hell because they don't have a soul. They just get reincarnated, if you want to go that way. They get reincarnated, like when they die, which that might give you any sort of comfort if you want to believe that, because you believe whatever you want, right? When your animal dies, its spirit gets put back into the earth and then reincarnated as some other animal. Like people can believe that. Again, I'm just talking about what people might believe. I'm not saying this is fact or not real. I'm just saying it's something that is a thought that someone has. And so if you want to believe that, you can or you can't. But yeah. So if you are worried about your animal after passing, just maybe it's a comfort that if they die, they just get to reincarnate into a different animal and then get to have another life having fun. And maybe, if you're lucky, your animal will reincarnate into another animal that you will get to take care of. So that maybe they will never leave you. They'll just keep coming back. You never know. But yeah, that's the tangent. Lost like 500 subscribers from talking about that because again, I feel like people can't just take something as like, oh, that's interesting. They have to be like, no, you're directly fighting against what I believe. You're a monster. I was like, I'm just talking about something that people might think. It doesn't necessarily that I mean that I think it's real or that it's the right way to think. It's just a way to think, right? But guys, sorry about that tangent. Again, I just thought that was something interesting to talk about if you weren't familiar with that idea. and it's semi-relevant to the story because then we're talking about a child who murdered 3 other children, and it goes into the maybe the child didn't have a soul argument that just goes with that, because we did have the exact same thought when we were watching the Void video where the kid was just a menace in his entire life to his parents, just doing horrible things. And I was like, oh, maybe he didn't have the soul. So that's where the I started talking about that stuff. But anyways, we'll get off of it again. I'm pretty sure I just lost 500,000 subscribers. We're below the 1,000 again. Probably. I mean, I'm over 1,000 right now. We're like 1,005, I think, the last time I looked. So that's cool. But again, I feel like I just lost like 1,000,000 subscribers talking about that. But again, I can say whatever I want, right? And at least I actually have something to say during these reactions. Because again, I'm worried about not having anything to say, which is why I never really wanted to do them to begin with. Because I'm just not a emotional question mark person to be like just laugh or cry heavily at anything. Like I don't know when the last time it was I even laughed at anything, but if I actually have something to say that's pertinent to what we're talking about, I will talk about it. And I mean, that will happen. I would like to keep saying more stuff, so I probably shouldn't be so afraid to talk about weird stuff like this. Just because, again, it's interesting, right? Hey guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, and think about becoming a member, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're working on watch time and subscribers, and we have a throw now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's do. See ya.